Thank you. Excellency Moussa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, honorable ministers and heads of delegations, permanent representatives, African Union commissioners, members of the Pan-African Advisory Team, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Well, first of all, let me thank the African Union Commission Chairperson, who has very eloquently presented the key points and themes for the very reasons for which we are here. And that makes my job much easier. I just build on that and probably repeat some of the things, and then we move forward from there. It is an honor for us to welcome you to Rwanda and thank you and your governments for responding to this invitation so decisively. This demonstrates the importance that we all attach to the strength of our union. As you know, the heads of state took a decision last year to finance the African Union from our own resources. This move prompted renewed interest in completing the ongoing institutional reforms of the African Union. And in January, the Assembly adopted a wide-ranging decision to make the African Union fit for purpose in this rapidly changing world. The report I presented to the Assembly was not the result of a magical inspiration. Assisted by a Pan-African advisory team, the work consisted mainly of thinking through ideas that were already on the table. As a result, it was very important to invite you here to go over these matters in detail as we turn to the phase of implementation. In any complex endeavor, discussion is valuable in and of itself. And beyond that, there are issues with which you have been engaged for some time now. The road ahead is long, and at times it may be even uncomfortable. But there is no easy switch to flip. It requires us to work together closely because the African Union represents us all. It is important that we don't waste this opportunity to learn lessons and apply what we have learned. Wherever you look, north, south, east, west, central, there is unmistakable momentum for us to build on. The mood is right. And Africans clearly want something to come out of this effort. They are waiting for leaders to take us in the right direction. In that context, I wish to share a few points that may be useful as we move forward. Let me start, if I may, with the experience of my own country. Of course, we are always happy to hear that visitors appreciate one thing or two, what they see and experience in our country. It means a lot to us, given where we have come from. However, to the extent that Rwanda now may serve as a positive example in some way, it is related to having epitomized at a certain moment the absolute worst of which human beings are capable. Whatever people might value here or elsewhere should be taken generally as examples of what is also possible on the positive side. Even difficult things are doable. The Rwanda you find today is not a miracle. It is the result of lots of hard work, and it began by coming together as a nation and deciding that we were never going to go back to that darkness. Having resolved to change our circumstances, two things became very important. As we struggled to turn our aspirations of a new Rwanda into reality, the first was to overcome the mindset of sitting back and waiting for rescue. Doing so involved becoming aware of the substantial means we already have, both in our soil and much more importantly, in our people, our heads. With these resources, we found we had more than enough to get started. The second was to cultivate a positive attitude in the face of adversity. If the mentality is to look for stumbling blocks, you will surely find lots of them. And the end result is that goals are never accomplished. So instead of finding reasons to do nothing, look for what should compel us to act. The decision and the decisive factor here was therefore changing our mindset from dependence to ownership, and from, in quotes, we can't to we can. That is an asset that can't be imported. We all have it in us, in all our countries. It is no different with the job we have for Africa. Which brings me to the task of implementing these two critically important decisions on financing and institutional reform. To those who have problems or difficulties to raise, you may be right. There will always be more we can do and do better to refine and improve upon the details. Let me take the example that has already been talked about and explained to you. The 0.2% levy on eligible imports. This is first and foremost a choice to no longer be dependent on outsiders. That is the principle at stake. It's really about the value we attach to being effective and self-reliant as an organization, as a continent. The levy is the formula we came up with to assure our independence as Africans. If there are any problems with it, let's improve on the technicality instead of sacrificing the principle. Regardless of the challenges we face in implementing these decisions, they are certainly better problems than the ones we faced before. Let's work together on the details while standing firm on our principles. I have a particular message to address to our brothers and sisters, starting with the Permanent Representatives Committee. First of all, it is important that you and all of us realize you have an essential role to play, representing your governments day to day in Addis Ababa. As such, the PRC should not underrate its relevance, nor should anyone else. The main task is just for us to understand how to bring different levels together to work in complementarity. And we should not, again, underrate the weight of synergy in achieving our objectives. And in Addis Ababa, we have PRC, but also have the African Union Commission. If we bring them, or if they understand that working together, supporting each other, that is the best way we can be productive in terms of achieving the goals of our continent. And that that working together is indispensable. So we will be looking forward all levels to work together to achieve this. We talk often about the deliberations of heads of state. And of course, it is leaders' responsibility collectively to make the final decisions. They are right as well. However, I want to emphasize that there are layers of communication and analysis that build on each other and will always be influenced by input coming from the bottom. If this is not the case, we should make it the case. Again, with the careful attention to the principles underlying our mission. In the time ahead, some immediate actions we can take are obvious, such as managing upcoming partnership summits, as well as our own African Union summits, in accordance with the reform decision. And I think the Chairperson of the African Union Commission has already talked sufficiently about this. Fully supporting the Chairperson of the Commission and his staff to implement the decisions is another clear priority. We have entrusted them to do that. We can't be the ones to not support them. I have another request for all of us. When we have returned home, let's find how to communicate the essence of these reforms to our people and institutions. The Commission can't do it alone, much less heads of state. The task of engaging citizens involves all of us, each at our level. Let me close with a couple of observations in a different way. First, this process is not about what each country can do on its own, but rather what we can all do together for each other and with each other. If some of us get it right, while others lag behind, most likely we will all be stuck. We affect each other one way or another. That is why cooperation is the key, as underlined by the name we have and gave our organization, Union. Secondly, whatever challenges lie ahead, it is the lives and well-being of our people, our own people, that are at stake. We are not among those who deal with Africa with professional detachment. It's our children. It's our parents. It's us. You know, on this note, if I may share with you again our own experience in the past, other leaders who are here present know, and especially ministers who had to deal with this on a daily basis. And really, it goes in line with what the chair of our African Union Commission area, you know, talked about in different way. We used to have problems with our partners who financed a lot of things here, who have really contributed a lot to our development. But whenever there was a slight problem, they would come to us and they say, no, you know, we are not going to deal with you, you know, to finance, you know, through government or working with the leaders of this country. We are going to make our contribution directly to the people. And we would ask them and say, which people are you talking about? You mean Rwandans? And they would say, yes, because we don't trust you leaders and structures. And so we will go directly to the people. And we'll tell them, but these are not your people. These are our people. Why do you think you mind our people and their interests than we actually do? And they say, no, because they are not happy. If they are not happy with us for one reason or another, then they'll go directly to the people. I can see the foreign minister of Benin smiling. He knows something about it, because one time he was operating here as a representative of one of these big organizations. So we use it to. But the exchange that would go on day in, day out, you know, which really relates directly to what we are trying to deal with. Funding our own activities, doing our own thing as ours, not things that belong to other people. So we had a couple of run-ins with our friends and telling them, and we told them, we said, no. When it comes to Rwandan people, these are our people. So, and we have their mandate. We have their understanding. So you have to deal with us, or you can divert your generosity somewhere else. And gradually we came to some understanding, because we insisted, and we had reasons to insist, and I think it's high time we Africans take full responsibility for our affairs, and we've got to do it right, because that cannot in any way justify any wrong things we might do. If we are doing anything wrong, then we've got to attend to that as well and correct it. But we can't use the external factors trying to interfere with our situation as a cover-up for our own wrongs and say, oh, this is our situation, therefore we've got to do it the way we want. No, we've got to do it the right way. At the same time, if anybody made a mistake and did something wrong in our situation, in our countries, it's no excuse for somebody from outside to come and say, I will do it for you. So we really have to understand each other and understand our responsibilities as well. So we are not people who would be detached from interests of our own people and have to try and do it right. So in a sense, our gathering today is just about looking each other in the eyes and saying, you know what? Who have we been waiting for to do all these things for us? In the end, we have only been waiting on ourselves. It is painful to keep talking about the Africa we have today when we are aware of where we could be had we taken action long ago. Honestly, I don't think anyone would accept that this is our place. And I know none of you does either. So if this is not our place, let's change it and be where we have to be, and it's us to do that. We cannot be given peace, prosperity, independence, and dignity by anyone else. It is we to give ourselves all these things we need. However, I think we are finally ready to move from what I hear, from what I see, from what I experience, and I think there are many, if not all in this room, who see it that way. So once again, thank you for availing yourselves to contribute to this process, and I look forward very much to our discussion.